It's a lovely good afternoon. You're still watching Millennium TV. Thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of the National Pulse program right here on Millennium TV. For those that are tuned in, it's a lovely good afternoon. You're still watching Millennium TV. Thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of the National Pulse program right here on Millennium TV. For those that are tuned in, be sure to catch us on your top set decoders. We're live on Channel 95, and of course, we're streaming this program live on our Facebook page. It is Millennium TV Zambia. On the program this afternoon, we look at national matters, and joining me in studio is Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Honorable Chipoka Mulenga. He will be my guest this afternoon, and as we look at national matters and, of course, looking at the performance of the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry from the time that he's been the one overlooking the ministry, of course. Honorable, good afternoon. You're welcome to the program. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Good afternoon, viewers from across the country and wherever you're joining us from. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for according us this opportunity to have you. But before we delve into a conversation with the Honorable right here, allow us to just quickly go through some of the stories making headlines today. We do have a Tech Committee legal Dr. Kaba, however, urges government to go beyond the technical committee and take more fundamental reforms aimed at redesigning the power map of the state, creating a legitimate constitutional order instead of focusing on the legality of the committee. And Zambia learned its lessons from COVID-19, says Muchima. Makebi rallies for opposition unity, warns that it will be a failure of leadership on the part of the opposition if the leaders refuse to shelve their egos and ideological differences for the common cause of liberating Zambia. Let no church be stopped from worshipping HH, and Nakachinda should not be in jail, Mwamba. And quickly, in the times of Zambia, we have state-church partners. President Hichilema says the two institutions should complement each other. And criminals on rampage in Kitwe. We also have Kwacha stability explained and WAFCON tickets secured. And quickly, COP killed as 14 escape custody. And we respect freedom of worship. HH. Girl 12 drowns at Kalimba farm. And dismiss Lower Zambezi National Park petition. We move on to the Daily Mail newspaper. Reject divisions. HH says divisiveness within church nation should not hinder peaceful resolution of differences. And Zambia's debt restructuring virtually complete. State House and stable boy hacks one to death. Assault 6. And of course, NHA Mpika in 1,000 houses packed and marijuana in biscuits, 4 nabbed. Those are some of the stories that that are making headlines that we are looking at this afternoon. Honorable, I welcome you once again to the program. And quickly, maybe before we delve into our conversation for this afternoon, any of the stories that you might want to react to in our local newspapers?
Interesting. You've read quite a number of headlines on the newspaper. But something that is of primary interest is listen to the president's statement when he says he's open to making sure he makes sure that church must worship freely without influence from any sections of society. Most importantly, the government. One thing that I should really also make a statement on is on the president's call for the church to be allowed to worship freely. Personally, I am a Christian. But Christian, I believe in the baptism of the Holy Ghost. I believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and even the crucifixion itself. And I serve under a president who is a Christian too, besides he's an elder at church. And the interactions I've had with him, clearly they point in one direction, that he believes in Christianity, he believes in God, And without God, we are all nothing. So I think, look, one mistake that has been made by a certain government agency does not reflect who the president is and what the government stands for. And that's why the president says you really have to investigate this and find out what has happened. And he has taken it very seriously himself to rein in and give a commitment to the country that we should not disturb worship. And so I think I don't want even to talk more, to go beyond that one. I think that is something very important. Then the other thing is you look at a statement, interestingly, that has been made by my dear brother, Councillor Makebizu, where he's calling for the opposition to come to forces and join together. You know, sometimes hypocrisy is easy to tell and easy to be reflective in your behavior and your conduct. This is the same man who said it will be, I don't know, in his statement whether he said he will betray God, or it will not be listening. I don't know really the word that he used, talking about not listening to the word of God if he does not run for presidency. Yet he's calling now everybody to come together, but to come together to who? To rally behind. This is a selfishness that is just engulfing the opposition, where everybody wants to be a president. How does he feel he's popular because he can be president? Because he has delayed. He has been representing a family that has been holding on to the release of the remains of the former head of state. So just because he's been making these headlines, making some certain statements about the discussions between them and government, then he believes he's now popular. He can even become president and can take over like that. You know, leadership is a passion. That comes built over time. And the people themselves should really, really acclaim, or should really believe that this is what we should do. So it is interesting that issuing statements on behalf of family because of delaying the depositing of a body into the country where the former head of state was coming from is part of a qualification for somebody to be head of state. Then another thing that is very important that has been, I think you read, that must be from the Daily Nation, was about the statement coming in from Dr. Kaba, where he said there is nothing illegal on what the president has done in appointing a technical committee. You must understand, people of Zambia, people across the world said leadership is a leadership that listens to the call and the cry of the people. Indeed, government, in our wisdom, we thought everything that we put into the constitutional, not amendment, enhancement, is something that has always been tabled by various constitutional amendment committees. So why not take it to Parliament, and Parliament makes a decision? But there was a call from various private stakeholders, civil society, the churches, among many other bodies, and they went to State House and they queried His Excellency the President, look, we need a wider consultation on this issue. The President listened. That's what leadership does. When there is a concern by the public, leadership listens. And that's what we have done. And among the people that went to State House to say, this is not the way to do it, we have got no problem with this, but we have got a concern about the wording of other things. When you talk about a president appointing some certain members of parliament, do you want to open it and appoint the whole country as members of parliament? Do you want to bring youths, just picking them from anywhere else? So the president said, okay, fine, I listen to you. Now let's go. You come up with different stakeholders, the church, mother bodies, the civil society, the chiefs, our cultural leaders, coming together. We are a true representation of different sections of society now to go to the public and do this consultation, technical engagement.
Right.
And this is it. So it's about listening to the people and doing what is right. But we strongly believe that there is nothing there that is even like the falsehood that was coming from the opposition to say he has brought this to perpetuate his stay in government. It has got even nothing to do with the presidency. And his commitment has always been very clear. I ran for 5 years, 2021 to 2026, 2026 to 2031, I'm done. It has got nothing to do about that. But the constitution process is talking about being all-inclusive. There's been a huge cry. You're a young lady yourself, but probably you've never been given an opportunity to have access to a table of leadership. Very few privileges have been that. But you've got the brains, you've got the ability to get there. So now what do? We need to make it easy so that we are not interested in your inability to generate resources to campaign, but we are concerned about your ability to bring something tangible to the table of leadership. So we should make it easy in that way. Now let's look at women. Me, I come from Chingola, Chuempala, Maiteneka, and other places, smart, brilliant women. Because they can't generate money to go and to campaign. And you know the campaigns all over the world, it's not only in Zambia where politicians have to spend money into campaigns. You have to do logistics, you have to do feeding, you have to book posters and other things. But most of our women are vulnerable. But they are smart, they are brilliant, they are intelligent, they are wise. So how do you do it? Let's make it easy for them to find a table on the leadership table. These are the things that we are talking about. Look at the constituencies. I've got the biggest constituency in population on the Copper Belt. To move from one place to the next, I have to think, oh my God, I even forgot that place. But management and leadership of those constituencies gets to suffer. And what is most exciting, there is now about 40 million kwacha worth of investment in a constituency. I'm telling you that I've got the biggest constituency on the Copper Belt. Talking about probably 2026, we'll be going to over 100,000 voters. But the other constituencies, which is about maybe 40,000 voters. So for me to implement my development with constituency development fund, it will not be felt as much as it will be felt in another. So those huge places, we have to apportion or cut them, and it's a benefit. When one constituency now, which is one now, tomorrow it will be two, if it happens, it will get 80 million. It will get extra ambulances, it will get extra police vans, it will get extra monitoring vehicles. It is just getting resources and more wealth right to where the people live. Because in the past, these are resources that by MP, by Minister Valen, Definition Matumba, of Africa, to you, Madam, you see, oh, by MP, by Saturium, and things like that. But now money is going to right where it belongs. So I think that's my take, just in a snapshot. Right. On the headlines that you've read from the newspapers. Thank you.
Right. Let me take you back a little bit to a recent press briefing that Honorable Makebi Zulu held, obviously updating the nation over their stance, over the Lungu's family and their stance with regards to the repatriation of the late president's remains. And Makebi Zulu stated that the family doesn't have a problem with repatriating the body if only President Hakainde Hichilema will delegate his duties to the vice president.
I'll tell you something. Yes, Makebi Zulu can say what he wants to say. Now I'm beginning even to understand that much of those statements he's been issuing, he wanted to garner some certain attention from the country. So you see, you talk about this, and he goes to speak on a contrary to what has been advocated for between the two parties, themselves and the government. The delay tactics and everything was just to deliberately generate support. To say, oh, but look, we can generate attention or garner support. It should be prudent things. It should be things that should give hope to the people that, okay, abanga vaisa, waka pusha load shedding in this. Abanga vaisa, wakesa panga vena Zambia to start working in this. Not what we are saying. But now, where we hear they are making a dictate that President Edgar Lungu should step aside and delegate his responsibilities to the vice president. I'll tell you, there is a condition, in my opinion, I'm yet to be guided properly, that dictates for the president to delegate his authority on a state issue. One, the president must be out of the country, maybe on national duty or for some certain cause. Then he hands over these instruments of power to the vice president. When he returns, she returns the instruments of power. Or maybe when the president is unable to discharge his duties, by virtue maybe of his health is not in that where he can do it, or many other. Not where anybody wakes up any day and says, you stop this, you do. You should understand that the man that we are talking about here, whose remains are yet to be deposited in the country, was not an ordinary person. First, before I even talk about him, let's talk about him. Zambians, we must understand, the kind of lives we choose come with some certain responsibilities and requirements. I am minister myself. I was listening to my elder brother. I don't know whether I can say my uncle, father, or Bob's chief, where he was saying, when I die, you should not do this to me and everything. I don't want to. No, you are a minister. I have chosen to be a public servant. And when now I've become minister, I should have refused to be minister. It's clear, when a minister dies, that funeral will be announced. The flag will fly at half-mast. Just me, a simple minister. The government will move in and take responsibility of, that is how it is supposed to be. It's a job I've chosen, and that's what comes with it. From the onset, you should have refused. Let's look at now a head of state. And he's so rest in peace. I respected him alive as a person. I respect him in it. Their life is different. And I'll talk about the issue that I saw this Takapwepwe talking about. Look, I respect the Kapwepwe family, and I really, really respect it. I didn't want even to discuss the issue. But to some extent, our sister is a PF member. So many of the statements are really aligned in. But let's look at first the man that we have.
Yes, you are.
President Lungu was not, whether we like it or not, was not a citizen who is not even like me. He ran the entire country. And he knew very well, just like his family knows very well. For him, he is former head of state, and it will be a state funeral in that regard. The Constitution prescribes it very well. When you are out of politics, all the requirements for retired head of state are given. When you get back into the public life, which is so much wanted, then they are removed. That is how it is. But in an event you die, again our conditions as a country dictate. Now we are not celebrating a politician, somebody who has died, a politician. Now we are talking about the position he held before he died as head of state. And it's clear. Do you want Hakainde Hichilema to go against the Constitution of saying, okay, he died an active politician, so let's forgo that? But the same law in the country demands that once he's gone, all the things that are there will be reinstated, will be given back. Wife will get a house, will get a car, among many other things. Is what it demands. So if you don't want that to be done, there's a constitution amendment process. Maybe take it there and say, for this man can we respect him in this? So there is no way Makebi or anyone else can wake up and start giving directives to the head of state, not to Hakainde Hichilema. Pay particular attention to the head of state, to presidency, against the Constitution. I've given you what it takes for a president to delegate some certain authority to the vice president. Then you're asking him that because of this funeral, the president should hand over the instruments of power to Amaiva Namtarelo. Because you want to say. That's the Constitution. You want the president to fly out. Because of their personal emotions, we cannot twist the requirements of the
But would you, sorry to cut you short, Honorable, would you blame the Lungu family for taking this position in the way that they feel that, the funeral and the burial of the late president, ECO, should be handled? We know the issues that were there before he passed on. Would you blame the Lungu family that they've still taken this stance to say they do not want President Hakainde Hichilema to be a part of the funeral processions?
I don't know what you mean. Should I blame them, given what was going? What is it that was going? How that we should. There are times that come when people become realistic on the current situation, than bringing in some certain elements which you have to qualify to me. What issues? It was President Lungu's personal decision to go back into politics. And when he goes back into politics, clearly you even heard, how are you, okay, what is it that this government did against them that you should blame them, the action there? I don't want to talk so much about the family because they are still grieving. I've never lost a father, but I've seen friends who have lost fathers. So I feel for my dear sisters. I feel for my dear mother. I don't want to discuss so much about them another. But ultimately, the kind of man we are talking about here is not a person from it. This is a man whose portrait was hanging in the country wherever he is. And the law of the land clearly says, when you are in active politics, conditions will be. when you are passed on, inactive or not active politics, the state must take over. Where are you throwing that responsibility? Even you as a media, you've got a task to even inform the family itself. There is this law that demands that whether he's dead, politically active or not politically active, the state moves in. Where have you changed that law? Why are you ignoring it? So emotions cannot take precedence over legalities. There are things that are morally right, but against the law. Whether you have to follow the law. There are things that are maybe perceived immoral, but legal. The law takes precedence. So these are the issues that you should also talk about. What does the law say? When a head of state dies in active politics, we just sit and watch and say, let it be. If that is the provisions, yes, maybe I would say, I think let it be. If that's not what the law says, let Hakainde Hichilema, even after he has saved this country, not be held accountable for having breached the Constitution. Why, even you, the fourth estate, are you playing ignorant to this law? Then to the gallery of Makebi, we are saying, can you blame them? Blame them for what do you want me to applaud them to? What happened during the time he was in? What did we do to him? If anything, sorry to say this, it was even our late former president who was always attacking his friend, while the friend never responded to him, not even one day. Don't forget, at one time, the Lungu family suffered a housebreaking, burglary. Then they accused a lot of people. Investigations done, not very long before the president died. It was refused that it was their PF cadres who went there, among many others. Who was going to in Luapula, in other places, even name-calling his friend. Hey, you are Chunsu, hey, those kind of things. Who abused who? You should tell me, educate me to say, do you blame them for this? Me, what I would pray, I would ask is, look, I think HH is a person who has got a very soft heart and very forgiving. It is a time, in my opinion, I think there should even be ability for them to see how do we move, how do we make progress. I think we've held the head of state, former head of state, for a very long time. It's high time we brought. If you have not paid attention, how many months have passed today, you're asking? Many. The country has moved on. The people have moved on. They're living in like it's not happening. It is only my brother Makebi, whom we see talking about it. To some extent, I was thinking he's a good spokesperson of the family doing this. Little did I know that Kashmali won't have an opportunity to use as a springboard to politics.
Right. But in this case, who do you think should be the one to reach out?
We as a government, we have done. Mm-hmm. That's why the Secretary of the Cabinet has been there. We have done our part.
There's been suggestions that maybe President Hakainde Hichilema himself should speak to the family.
I don't want to discuss. Now you're asking me to talk about him as a person, but one thing I can tell you is that the presidency has reached out to the family. This I should tell you. But I don't want to talk about us. Look, I want to be very careful how I discuss this whole thing, because there's a grieving family here. Mm-hmm. Okay? So there's a grieving family here. And again, I want to be very careful how I discuss this whole narrative, not to emotionally add the sword to them.
Right.
But from government perspective point of view, I'll tell you clearly, the presidency has reached out on more times than one on how this can be done in a decent, amicable way. Mm-hmm. So now you tell me, how else do you want to do that?
All right. Honorable, let us shift our focus to another issue, of course, that a lot of Zambians complaining about for some time now. Obviously, the elephant in the room is that of load shedding. I think something that you spoke about earlier, and what solutions the opposition should be bringing on the table. Load shedding is one of the biggest issues. Sure. That seems to have affected a lot of Zambians, and others have based this as one of the reasons they wouldn't want to vote the UPND government into office in 2026. Let us speak about how you as a government are handling this particular issue.
Yes. You have spoken about something that is very critical, for the past regimes, this government, and governments to come. I need to put this problem we have here to context. Okay? And I also want to explain one thing to you. We spoke about ending load shedding when we were in opposition. I know it's a question that you would want to tell me. No, but you said this.
I'll definitely remind you.
No problem. But let me go ahead of you. But I save you the trouble of reminding. Because I've been on many media stations, and this is what we go through every time. And I'll explain to you even what we meant when we said that. Number one, when Dr. Kaunda took over the reins of our country, we were about less than 3.5 million people. The setting up of the Kariba Dam, I think we've had that facility for over 50 years. You know, I'm telling you the setting up of that facility. You can't build a power plant overnight. It took us almost 10 years of political independence to have such a energy power capacity. And when we built that, what was the installed capacity of turbines, number of turbines that are installed? 2 turbines. I want you to pay particular attention to this, just as this was set up, it was enough to produce power for the mining industry, production sectors, and the 3 million. Don't forget what I'm telling you. Pay particular attention. When Dr. Kaunda left for 27 years, population had increased. I think we were barely 10 million with the same installed capacity. We had the MMD. Silva, His Excellency, passed on. Not even a third turbine was installed. It was normal. Population increased. I think we must have gone to about 11. Using the same pieces of equipment that were installed for 3 million people. When Mwanawasa Patrick came to rest in peace, he started opening industries like Mwana, Kansai. Technical committees saw that we need to produce power. Because now, plants like Mopani, KCM, and others, they will need more power. Or we need to split more power, to send more power to this Lumwana and Kansai. So what did he do? We engaged Sinohydro to bring 3 more turbines so that we can produce enough power for these other mines. But the thing that the Zambian governments never thought about was about the increasing populations. Others were just focusing on the industry. But the 2 turbines we had, which Kaunda left, were serving these mining industries, even other production centers like Gamefa, Mansa Batteries, and others. When Mwanawasa started that project, unfortunately, he passed on without completing, and the turbines were brought, without completing the installation of the 3 turbines to make it 5. Rupia Banda came on board. What happened, may he so rest in peace. What happened to the completion of the project? Only himself knows. People that. Basata came, may he so rest in peace. The same project that Mwanawasa started, with 3 turbine installations, never finished. It was projected these 3 turbines will serve the country now with excess power. Basata left us. Along came by Edgar Lungu, so rest in peace. The contract was worth $1+ billion. As usual, in the past regime, there was this tendency of inflating prices of everything. They cancelled the contract, which was worth $1 billion+, and reoffered it at over $2 billion. You need even to be comparing the 2 governments, this one and the past one. They had a contract worth $1.2 billion over a road contract between Dollar and Lusaka. When we cancelled the tender, we reoffered it, we gave it back to be done at $600 million, saving the money for you and I, and taking the other resources, socio-economic, That is how you cancel a tender, because there are some anomalies. Now they cancelled one from $1 billion plus to $2+ billion. Did they even finish the project? Zero. Were there some money that were paid towards the project? Yes. In the same way, you should understand as a country, before the commencement of works over $1.2 billion, before interest, road project, about $15 million, if not more, was paid just for the breaking ceremony. Just, maybe you don't understand the groundbreaking ceremony, where they put balloons, yellow equipment is standing, they cut ribbon and say, we'll start the works tomorrow. There is a cost of $15 million, if not more, that the Zambian government paid just towards that. How much does it cost for a head of state to go and cut the scissors with balloons and yellow equipment? That is what happened. You've retended the project, $600 million. Now, the project that they had given at $2 billion plus, never completed. And we said in opposition, these 3 turbines, when we come, we will end road shedding. Because there is enough rain to come, which the 3 turbines, plus the odd 2, 5, will generate water, electricity from the water, and there will be no load shedding. True to our words, when we came. Because even the contractor that was supposed to be on site, Sino Hydro, left. I've never forgotten. The president made a decree. And 2, the ZESCO managing director. By then we had Victor Mapai. I need power to be generated by these 3, together with the odd 4. They worked round the clock. By January 2020, because those power generators came to life, we had enough water in the Caribbean. But the most unfortunate part is now, all these governments have spoken about had never thought of investing in alternative sources of power. All we had thought of was hydro. And hydro in one area, southern province. We should have been investing in all these years in Wapula, in northern province, in Muchinga and other places where there are these water bodies. We depended on one. So now, while we have got the 5 turbines running, generating power, like we promised the Zambian power, it is not up to you and I, but the power of the Almighty. He withheld the rain. We had the most devastating drought in living memory last 40 years. It's not faking news that the drought has got it. Even me, where I come from, people dig wells where they've been using water because we have got a utility company like Mulenga, which has been failing to provide the right service. Wells have dried. If your well has dried at home, it's the same thing. That's how Kariba is also missing water. So now the 5 turbines cannot generate power because there is now no water to turn. We remain with now, but the population is huge. So now what have we begun to do as a government, as an alternative now? Instead of depending on the 3 that we had installed and we finished load shedding, but because God has not given us enough rains in the project, what have we done? Yes, it's a painful thing to see you here start running a generator. Our SMEs there failing to weld and do other things. Saloons doing a lot of other things. It's painful to us. Seeing the cost of production going up.
You would understand, Honorable, why the UPND government has been highly criticized when it comes to the issues of load shedding, because while in opposition, something that you spoke about and you wanted to go ahead of me, while in opposition, the president said 1 year, 7 months, I'll borrow his words, 1 year, 7 months of the UPND government, once they take over office, they will end load shedding. That was announced a year later when the UPND took over office. And now the president also in opposition spoke to the issues of climate change and how there was lack of leadership under the Patriotic Front and that they couldn't use climate change as an excuse to why there was load shedding in the country. We now have the president speaking to the issues of climate change as one of the reasons that we have load shedding in the country. How then do you expect the people of Zambia to feel about this? Something that you criticized under the previous government. Now those are the same words that we hear from the head of state.
Sure.
How do you expect the people of Zambia to take that?
This is exactly, and I would appreciate, follow me clearly. Setting up a power plant does not happen overnight. If we had started setting up the coal power plants, the solar power plants, the geothermal power plants, long before today, climate change would not be an excuse. In what regard am I talking about climate change? We can't get the rainfall better the way we used to have it. Because now we can't get the rainfall. The hydropower system is failing us. What can we depend on? Solar. What can we depend on? Geothermal. What can we depend on? Thermal. We never did that. So now, listen to what we are doing. Because climate change, we don't want it to be an excuse. We have got abundance of coal. We are setting up the new power plant of coal with Mamba Colliery expansion. 300 mega power plant is coming on board. And it's not only Mamba that we are doing in partnership with the government. There are more private players that are coming on board. If hydro fails us, we should switch on coal. Are we going to cry about climate change? Yes. We are saying climate change today because setting up a power plant cannot be done overnight. It takes some time. And these are the things we used to remind all past governments. Can you set up alternative one? So that if there is no rain, you can switch on coal. If there is no coal, you can switch on solar. And this is what we are doing. And so we are aggressive in setting up more solar power plants, more coal plants, and we are doing studies led by Dr. I've forgotten his name. He's under the Ministry of Science and Technology. In nuclear power. We are working on that one as well. But should there be an effect, there is no sun, we go for water. There is no water, we go for coal.
So would you say President Hakainde Hichilema's pronouncements while in opposition that 1 year, 7 months of the UPND government in office, you're going to end load shedding because there were all these alternatives, and this is 4 years later into 5 years of the UPND in office. Would you say those words were overambitious?
No. I was even very clear with you. And let's be very much in tandem with my statements. Clearly, I told you, we actually even ended load shedding ahead of time. Long before the 1 year, 7 months, which you're saying. I don't remember him saying that.
Without all these alternatives that you're talking about.
We should be very, what can I say, objective with our statements. You are claiming that he said 1 year, 7 months. Which is okay. Did we or did not we finish load shedding given what we had? We did. Because then the challenge was technical issue. We had enough rains. They never had load shedding like this. It was just about now getting the right people to pay for the right price and technical ability. We finished it. And we had never rested from the time we took off in bringing up alternative sources of energy. That's why you see that in Itimpi, in Kitwe, we set up a 64 megawatt power plant. In Mumbwa, Samba, another power plant has been completed. Here in Chinika area, no, not Chinika, Lusaka West, Capital Fertilizer, putting up 85 megawatt power plant. Among many more coming on board. A time will come, like I told you, I wish we could do this overnight. But with the ZESCO facility that we had, given all the rains, we even finished it ahead of time. Now we have to think of the long term. The current situation is bad. We regret it. But what are we doing? We have an alternative. Pay particular attention to the loud ones, even the same. We are trying to cite the opposition and others who said, I'll come and finish load shedding. Ask them how will you finish load shedding. Us, we've got a way of how to finish load shedding. Put up new power plants away from the dependence on hydro. And ask them a question. Your friends are putting up the power plant. What will you do differently from this? The power plant completion project is within a certain period to a certain period. If then they will build it in the morning and in the evening, it starts generating power. We would also want to learn from them. We have got solutions to a problem that as a country we should have invested in a long time. Even yourself as a fourth estate, I ask you, be genuine and realistic. If we started investing in coal production in 1970, would we be crying about hydro today? If we started investing in geothermal in 2011, would we be crying about shedding today? No. We could have just switched on the alternative. But we have started. Yes, all these power plants that we are setting up may not even come to fruition under the next 10 years. But one day, somebody will remember who started these projects, who gave us alternative sources of energy. In the current situation, it's a painful situation, it is a bad situation, but the roadmap we have, the direction we are providing, alternative sources of energy. And that is why now you see that we have got more private players coming on board. How have we even mitigated the burden of power? We should have even been in a worse situation if we did not reform the power energy system. Let's look at ZESCO. Today, people, I feel bad about us Zambians. When you've got a Zambian player coming on board to provide a service, start labeling them and saying, maybe it is this Chite who owns this. ZESCO is a company, free to be checked by yourselves, whose balance sheet was so bad. They could not even be trusted by international companies to be given power on debt because they were not paying. Right now, we owe millions of dollars as a country because of, through ZESCO, of that ship. It must be Kapawa, a Turkish ship in Mozambique. Mozambique itself could not trust to give ZESCO power because of the bad balance sheet and inability to pay. Why was government not using alternative sources of power? Because the policies were not reformed. What did we do? Let us have more private players come on board to provide power. That's how come we've got CEC, which is even sending a lot of power to Congo. Not Zambian power, which they're importing from other places, sending it there and supporting. Now we've got even 3 players that are major in the area. But of these 3 players, we've got 1 Zambia. And me as minister responsible for registering companies, I invite many Zambian companies. If you've got the ability to get power from anywhere else on your balance sheet and bring it in Zambia, bring it. We recently had a company called Canona. Yeah, Zambians coming together to say, look, we have got international connections. We can borrow power. But we can borrow money, get power, and give the mining industry. But we can't set up the infrastructure overnight to transport power. Can we use ZESCO lines? ZESCO lines, if we just leave them where they are, ZESCO can't even produce power. They'll be idle. And we now liberalize these transmission lines, where these people get power from wherever part of the world, they use ZESCO transmission lines, and ZESCO even gets a fee while they give the mining industry.
Right.
And this same private sector gives power, we now start accusing them. Because we Zambians don't like to see other Zambians make. As minister responsible for investment, minister responsible for registration, I want to invite many Zambians. If you have got the ability to source financing from outside and provide us with the power that we need from within the region or outside, come on board. And if you register today, you've got the ability to support government in finishing the power challenges. We'll help you. This is how it's supposed to be done. And I want to also urge politicians and let's take pride in seeing Zambians doing. In Zambia, we've got this ability, habit, if I should say. Anybody whom we see succeeding, then we'll say, obviously, wako akaindi, obviously, company yako akaindi. This is akaindi that you accused in opposition, but you could not prove it. You now even want to accuse him. You want to support everyone.
Right. I want you to speak to the power, to the issue of power exports. I think this is also a conversation that is still ongoing in the country. And maybe a lot of Zambians still ask questions as to why Zambia is still exporting power to countries like Namibia. And people would want to obviously hear from you why Zambia is still exporting. And also other stakeholders that have called on government to probably cancel these contracts.
Okay. I like it. You know why I was deliberate to ask you where? Because I've heard, just yesterday, I was listening to a certain program that I engaged. I said, no, government is sending too much power to Congo, they're sending power to Zimbabwe, they're sending power to Namibia. And I had to get it. One country where part of our power is going. And we used to give, there must be, if not 150, must be more. But we had to start negotiating them. So we can't keep giving you power because of the challenge we have. TEC is sending Zambian power into DRC. No. TEC is not sending Zambian power into DRC. TEC is sending the power there. TEC is a private company that is importing power from somewhere else. They've got a long-standing contract into the DRC. not power coming in from. CEC is also now distributing the power they are importing and also getting part from ZESCO. Discuss this issue. I can partly do it. If I'm not clear on some things, I think I'll refer to my brother to come and address it. Of the 150 megawatt that we used to give Namibia, we cut to about, must be 40 megawatt. The reason why we couldn't cut immediately, because in the past, we had enough power. When you have enough, you release the excess that you get forex. By the time comes when you withdraw that, and we are not giving power to Zimbabwe. This I should mention. We are not giving power to South Africa. We are not giving power to other countries. But with Namibia, based on what my conversation with him, we've remained now with about only 40 megawatt. If there is more to it, he will guide me. I will say that I cannot competently say the exact figures,
right,
because I'll be a little bit academic. The minister knows himself. So we retained this after a protracted engagement with our colleagues in Namibia. We said, guys, yes, we have a contractual obligation. But given our situation, we have to tell so that we retain power for ourselves. And we want to thank our colleagues in Namibia. They were reasonable enough and magnanimous to understand our plight, and we did that. But why have we left that 40 megawatt if it's not 40, 41 or 38 megawatt? At least even for them not to damage the pieces of equipment that they are running, just to keep them running. So that's why that has been left. Again, yes, we have a crisis. But we don't want to create another crisis beyond that.
Right.
So if they can run their equipment, we are working on a coal power plant, more hydropower plants, solar power plants. We are working on a facility that, on a system that soon, within a certain period of time, we should have excess of power beyond what even the same Kariba can produce. Then we return our market to Namibia, and we keep supplying them. Then we can go even into Zimbabwe. Then we can go back into the DR to support what CC.
Right. Due to time, Honorable, I want us to also, of course, talk about the progress that your ministry has made, I think, in the 4 years that you've been in office, under your leadership at the ministry, of course, and under the leadership of the UPND. Let us talk about the ministry's involvement in the 4 years.
Beautiful. The building, look, my ministry is, as you called it when you started, of commerce, trade, industry. How can commerce thrive? How can trade thrive? The president in 2021, September, you appointed me on September 27. A few days after my appointment, I had a meeting with him in his office. I've never forgotten the words he told me. He said, Chipoka, I don't want my government to attract investment from foreigners that will be opening up wholesale shops, retail shops, to sell bicycles, household goods. No, that's not what we call investment. Be it from China, America, England, anywhere else. Bring investment that will open up industries, value addition, manufacturing sectors. We have been running. His vision, I've come to believe, it's not what I've come to believe. It will transform this country to a power production hub for the Southern African. What have we done? Zambians have been complaining for years. We need to diversify our economy from mining into agriculture. HH said we will not diversify our economy from mining to agriculture. We should run them parallel. Let mining grow while agriculture grows. I want you to listen to this.
Right.
For years we've been saying diversify the economy from mining to agriculture. If you say from mining to agriculture, meaning you are going to shunt this and focus on this one. If you've got a sector that is feeding you, don't kill it. Grow it, keep it, then generate another one to be parallel to this one. Then you're growing your GDP. How do we grow the agricultural sector if we're importing fertilizer? If we're importing tractors? If we're importing seeds? What have we become as a country? Buy seed company in Kabwe. Kabwe was almost a dead town. Now we are giving it industrial resuscitation. We are bringing industries back to life. Bayer seed company, the biggest in Southern Africa, is opened there, creating many jobs. What do we do now? Zambia has now become, in addition to seed and others, the biggest seed producer in Southern Africa. If you've got seed, then you've got what to plant. Besides that, you need to have fertilizer. In the past, fertilizer, we used to import it. It could delay. Farmers could not have fertilizer in time. Fertilizer could be distributed in January, in February. It was almost useless. But how do we make agriculture sustainable? Let us set up our own fertilizer. We are doing fertilizer ourselves, decompound ourselves, urea ourselves, and we've become from a net importer of fertilizer to a net exporter. Value addition. What are we using to make fertilizer? The core that we have. The core we have in Zambia is phosphate. It's different from Zimbabwean core. Zimbabwean core is cork type, which can be used in plants like smelters, concentrators. So we buy from the Zimbabweans. Ours can be used in fertilizer production. So this is what we are using. Instead of now importing fertilizer, we are exporting. Zimbabwe, we want to thank our brothers. We are trading with each other as Africans. We buy their cork, they buy our fertilizer. We are exporting to Botswana. We are trading with each other as Africans. We are buying their salt, they are buying our fertilizer. Tanzania, we buy a lot of things from Tanzania. They are buying from us. The DRC, Malawi. Now we've become to be a net exporter of fertilizer. Fertilizer used to fetch between 1,350 to 1,500. Here in Lusaka, it is 850. But it is still painful for me. And I'm thinking of something. The president guided me on how to do this. I'm just working on it so that I can frame it and take it back to him. Because of this free market economy, you move fertilizer from Lusaka, which is 850, into Chingola or any other place, it becomes 1,000. I think we need to protect fertilizer production in the same way we have done on fuel. Fuel, if it is 30 kwacha in Lusaka, it will be 30 kwacha across the country because it's a national security, energy security. Fertilizer should also be treated as a food security. If it is 850 in Lusaka, it should be 850 across the country. Because this free market economy is distorting benefits for the public. What did we do to get the fertilizer company function in Zambia, and we become now the biggest exporter or producers of fertilizer in Southern Africa? We have revived nitrogen chemicals of Zambia. The fertilizer company in Lusaka West, people have just been saying H has only been creating jobs in the civil service. No. He has been creating thousands of jobs also in the private sector. The decompound production facility has created in excess of 10,000 direct jobs who are paying NAPSA, NIMA, everything. The phosphate plant which is coming, the phosphate plant, when it comes to life, phosphate is being mined in Eastern Province. Now we will not be importing phosphate to add to the fertilizer. It should be done right in Zambia, where we want to see the fertilizer price coming down even further. The phosphate plant again will create 10,000 more jobs. And the industrial, this is industrial revolution. Nitrogen chemicals of Zambia coming to life, $6 million investment. It has also created 260 direct jobs in NCZ. Next week, if not this week, we'll be launching it. The phosphate will be mining into Eastern Province. The president has said, let each province, each district be an economy on its own. So we want value addition of phosphate to be done in Eastern Province as well. Where the phosphate, when it is mined, it should not be transported raw into Lusaka for value addition into the fertilizer. There we're going to set up a blending plant, or should I say, a feather treatment plant, which will create jobs for the people of Eastern Province. Then we bring a part of it to complete the addition into the fertilizer. Now that is another part. How do we get value addition? How do we get industrialization sector coming? When you look at the fertilizer plant itself, it has created more jobs for truckers and other people and businesses, suppliers and contractors. Today we've got more agro dealers than we had before because of nitrogen fertilizer. Now many Zambians are able to get fertilizer and supply to the public. That aside, let's go into Kabwe. Kabwe, which I said was almost a ghost town. We need to bring it back to life. We are not like any other government who could open Mulungush Textiles for the elections. After people vote, they close it. We went in and started, let's buy brand new pieces of equipment. Two major things that Aka and the Ichlema traveled to China for. It is we, the Zambian people, who were always bashing him for not going to China. You go to a place when you've got something on the table. Zara and Mulungush Textiles. There we've clinched a deal. Nitrogen Mulungushi Textiles is coming to life sustainably. The Zambian and Chinese government have spent over $140 million in putting up brand new equipment. The order has been put aside. You can't use Dr. Kaunda's equipment today and expect that you'll be productive and competitive like China and other countries. You need to bring state-of-the-art equipment. Before the end of this year, we'll be launching it. It is creating 500 brand new. By next year, if not the end of 2026, it should have its own power plant, overcoming the load shedding. We don't want new companies to be depending on the same power system that we have. They should have their own power plant. The fertilizer plant has set up its own power plant, not depending on the ZESCO. They have actually set up more power production facility than they need. They only need 40 megawatts. They are producing 45 mega extra to go into the grid system. So many households can benefit. This is what we are doing with Mulungu. Mulungushi only needs 20 megawatt power plant. But they are going to set up a 50 megawatt power plant. They will use 20 megawatts, 30 megawatts will go into the grid. So that should there be a problem anywhere else, Cabo should have its own power. Because Mulungushi Textiles provide. So industrialization agenda. We have revived the nitrogen chemicals of Zambia. We've been exporting raw materials of manganese in the name of manganese. Manganese, they just mine it from Luapula, mine it from Serenge, it goes to India, it goes to Singapore, it goes to China. HH said, don't do this. We need to give value addition. Value addition will create jobs for our people, will create businesses. What have we done to create jobs and businesses? We need to start making batteries in Zambia. Remember, when Dr. Kaunda left, we had Massa batteries, which was sold. And every thousands of cars that we have here, every component into it, Zambia does not contribute anything to it. What have we decided to do? Now, because of the manganese that we are doing, we are making our own car batteries in Chiwombo. When you are driving through Chiwombo, on the right side, you see that Jiangxi Facility Economic Zone. Those beautiful structures you saw, in the past government, they were destined to be warehouses for finished products from China to sell to DRC and other parts of Africa. HH said these should be industrial parks. There now, we are producing car batteries. Beyond the car batteries that we are producing by Sandbot, buy Zambian batteries. And they're not giving you a 6 months warranty, they're giving you 12 months warranty.
Right.
So this, we have gone on a huge task of industrialization. We used to have a big problem of drugs availability. Don't forget this. Before we took over government, and even the first year of being in government, there used to be a shortage of drugs in hospitals. We were sitting at 37% of drugs availability. They say numbers don't lie. Today we are sitting at 86 drugs availability. Why? Because we have supported with policies the capitalization of pharmaceuticals. Look at Yash Line Life Sciences. They are now producing penicillins. Look at Pharmanova. They've increased production of Panados. Look at Mylan and others. So now we have got more drugs in our hospitals. This is industrial revolution that you are seeing. Look at Trade Kings. Zambia and many other African countries have been importing starch and glucose. Glucose to be used in hospitals, to be used in food production. There are only 2 starch plants in Africa, Egypt and South Africa. Now Zambia has it. We have set up with a state of the art, with over 80 million investment in this. This is industrial revolution.
Right.
It is out of these things now where we have stopped sending money to buy things to some in the country, but we are selling to bring. That's where now you have seen, in a decent way, the kwacha is stabilized, is gaining strength. The inflation is getting lower. So this is part of the things that we are doing. Then now we're trying to see, how do we get Zambia? This is very important. I know you want to take it for us to leave, but listen to this. We used to call Hakainde Hichilema as a stooge of the white people, of the Europeans. In the words of the opposition, they used to say imperialists. The same people who used to call him that ran this government. Others were part of the government when foreign nationals owned the mines like they still own them, but never gave a policy direction for Zambians to have access to the resource. I was with him one day when I was, Mr. President, this thing they call you, he said, Chipoka, I'm a stooge of the Zambian people, not the imperialists, and I'll prove it to them. How is he a stooge of the Zambian people? Not these funny policies where you say 20% of a contract should be given to a Zambian. Why do you want to give 20% to a Zambian in Zambia? Then where will he ever get 100%? we have signed what we call local content. Now the Zambians have got, and I want the Zambians to pay particular attention to it. It's good for you, good for me, and generations. The same people that have come from different countries to run businesses. The president has given a policy. The biggest contributor, 75% of contribution to the GDP, is the mining sector. It is in that sector where we have started. Any contract between between $1 to $1 million is a preserve of the Zambian people. Beyond that, there should be partnerships and joint ventures.
Right.
The mines were dying, dear sister. When the mines have been revived, we've seen foreign contractors coming into the country and giving each other contracts. That's why the president said, you who come and do joint contracts here, partner with Zambia. It was not just a mere statement. It's now law and policy. The mines don't do this, it's a breach of the law. So now this person has proof to say he's a stooge of the Zambian people. The same people you are saying he's favoring, you have to eat with them. So can the Zambians embrace this? It's a time, look, we had a serious challenge as a government to get ourselves to act together, to put the right things for the Zambian public, debt among other things. Now, at least we've done part of the debt restructuring.
Right.
We have brought the Zambian businesses active, the mines active, the agricultural sector firing, but now we need the Zambians to be part of the players. And here comes now the content. We are now at a point of takeoff as a country. So let's be realistic in how we do this. I want you to do one thing. We've got so many loud mouths today who are only reminding the Zambian people of the challenges that are there. Zambian people already know them. Ask them. Bring solutions to the table. Ask them. Bring alternatives to the table. So this is what we have done.
Right. Honorable, unfortunately, we have to end our conversation, but I'll give you a few seconds to just give your concluding remarks.
We are committed to making sure that the Zambian people get the full benefit of their God-blessed income. And to build an economy, we have decided we need to bring the youths on board. We need to bring everybody on board. Provide free education. That which was costly. Many Zambians are not educated. Why? Not because they were down, because they did not have the resources. Now we provided all the way to university. We are concerned about the well-being of our youths, of our women. That's why we are saying, can we do these amendments in the Constitution so that certain seats deliberately dictated by the Constitution, they should have a sitting in the Parliament. That Parliament we have today. Maybe by now we only have one youth, my brother from Nalolo. All of them who are masquerading to be youths there are old like me. I'm 43, I'll be turning 43 years old this November. I'm not a youth anymore. So we need the youth to have a voice. For our beloved women, you may be sitting at Chiwempala Market, Soweto Market, but you've got the ability and you've got the wisdom to provide to the reins of this country, but you don't have the money to go into campaigns. But the Constitution must prescribe how many number of women should come there. That's what we are advocating for. Right. Believe that to get a country running and functioning, we need industries to work. That's why the president has gone on a mammoth industrial revolution. But what is so critical is to get energy and power. That's why we are investing heavily in alternative sources of energy. The pain is real, the challenge is real, but if we work together, believe in the process, we'll overcome. Thank you very much.
Honorable, thank you so much for joining us. We come to the end of our conversation this afternoon on the National Pulse. The Minister responsible for commerce, trade and industry was my guest this afternoon. Honorable Chipoka Mulenga was joining me as we were looking at national matters. Thank you so much for everyone that tuned in. Be sure to join us tomorrow, same time. Good day.